Today we're going to launch a new series of discussions. We're calling it MARC Business Talks, and it's a series where we're going to talk to entrepreneurs from our community here in Toronto and others about their endeavors in the business world to start their own businesses, to become entrepreneurs in their own right, and the challenges and opportunities that presented them with. And we hope it'll be an inspiration to other potential entrepreneurs, especially from the younger side of our community, to inspire them and to perhaps give them encouragement. So we look forward to having more guests in the future. Today, we're going to start with Brother Riyaz Datoo. Riyaz was born in Toronto and educated here. He graduated from Schulich, the York University Business School, and joined Procter & Gamble, a US multinational, in the customer business development market department. And he joined us in 1999. I happened to be there at the time, and I was pleased to welcome him on board. In 2004, Riyaz took the momentous decision to leave the relative corporate safety of Procter & Gamble to start his own business, to start a new venture and become an entrepreneur. And I want to ask him about that. Riyaz, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
It's an honor to be here.
So going back to that time, 2004, you'd been in corporate Canada for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You had a promising career at P&G ahead of you. What went through your mind? What went through your mind when you made that momentous decision to leave and start your own business? How did you deal with the risk that was involved in that? And what gave you the confidence and determination?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for this initiative that you're doing, really, to inspire younger generations, even older generations. We have a lot of older, semi-retired that are looking to start a business these days. And I'm a product of the community, and I've been inspired by many within our community. To answer your question, I'm a very conservative person, or at least I was a very conservative person. And so to be welcomed to Procter & Gamble and have the kind of opportunity I had was something that, was new to not just myself, but my family as well. And, it was an experience to be able to, learn the ways of such a large organization and really understand and see how they do what they do. What was going through my mind was, probably what was going through many others is, what's up with this guy? He's got everything that anyone would ever dream of. An amazing opportunity to work your way up the corporate ladder. Great benefits, great pay, great teams to work with, smart people. But yet still, I was, leaving to start a business that many people said, you're going to go and sell glass, sell glass. But what went through my mind was really that I wanted to take a risk. I wanted to try an idea that I had. And what happened at that particular moment in time was that I was being offered an opportunity to grow in my role, to take on a more of a leadership role. And I was very honest with my team and with my one-up manager and my director. And I told them, I said, look, before I bleed the logo of the company, there is an idea that I have. And it's an idea that I've had on a piece of paper for a long time. And I'm always wondering, what if I had actually pursued that? Now, you were with Procter & Gamble at the time as well. And so I'm not sure if you know this part of the story. So let me tell you this, along with everybody else, is that I sat down with our director, you'll remember Rob, and I told him exactly what was going through my mind. And I was honest. And I said, look, someone is leaving to take a paternity leave. Someone else is leaving to travel the world, but they're leaving on a leave of absence, unpaid leave of absence. I said, this is what's disturbing me, is that I'm always wondering, what if I had done this? So I would like to request a 1-year leave of absence to try this out, unpaid, with the guarantee that after a year, if I'd like to come back, I can keep this new opportunity, the higher role that they were offering me. Sometimes, what goes around comes around. When you're honest, when you make good relationships with people that you're working with, they appreciated it and they gave me that opportunity. And I'm still in touch with many of them, like I am with you till today.
Great. So off you went for ostensibly a year, but it turned out to be longer. And you formed this company, which is now called 3DCrystal. Tell us how big it is, what markets you operate in, what it does, and how you came about with the idea of selling glass, as you put it. But we know it's slightly better than glass.
Well, I like to read. I love to do research. Anything that's new, innovative attracts me, and I would do a lot of reading on laser technology. I would read about the medical sector and 3D scanning, and the idea was to come out with something that was custom, something that would be unique to each person, and that would take these technologies and combine them. The laser side of it was what's called subsurface laser engraving, SSLE. And it was actually created not for the purposes of consumer products like what I'm using it for, but it was created to encode tracking numbers in bottles.
I see.
And the reason it was created for that was because, you'll recall issues with companies producing product and then having people that are purchasing it, large retailers purchasing and diverting product cross-border to countries where they're not supposed to be sending it to. And the same thing would happen for companies like Coca-Cola, where, they're selling items to retailers in, call it Canada, yet it's being picked up by Americans from the back door because of exchange rate benefits. And they need to track back the bottle to who actually bought it and who broke the policy.
I see.
So it was taking that industrial sector, scanning from the medical world, which was, they'd use scanners for hearing aids, for inserts in the shoes, and send these 3D files anywhere in the world to get, created, the molds created. And so combining them to scan someone with the 3D, send the file to a laser, subsurface engrave. And today we're pushing out, in a year, about 50 tons of product in weight, which is the equivalent to over 124,000 pounds a year across 6 continents.
Okay. And who are your clients? Who are your customers? Is it the private retail market? Is it corporate, industrial? Is it all the above?
It's evolved. So it started off more B2B, and that business model came just directly from what I was learning. And what I always tell, anyone is, even if you think you're going to be an entrepreneur, that you want to start your own business or what have you, the learnings you'll get working, whether it's at McDonald's, whether it's in a bank, whether it's in a multinational company or a fast-moving consumer goods company, the learnings you'll get are like a real life MBA. It's probably more valuable than being in the classroom doing an MBA. Okay. And so my direct learnings when I was selling Crest or Pantene was selling to retailers, B2B, selling it to Walmart, selling it, to any shop that would then put it on their shelf and resell it. So I did the same thing. Well, I was like, if I go and rent a kiosk in a mall to sell directly to the consumer, I'm essentially becoming an employee for the mall. I have to be there in the morning at a certain time to open. I have to close at a certain time. But by approaching others that already had retail shops, at that time, Black's Photography, Japan Camera, Moto Photo, and going to their photo departments and saying, here's a cool product, display it. No inventory costs, just display it. Cash through the customer through your till, grab the payment, keep percentage, pay me an X percent. And I produce it. That's how it started. Then e-commerce was really growing and evolving. And so we started to, drive traffic to our website and sell direct to consumer as well. So we played in all markets. Today, B2B looks like us selling technology. So now people that want to get into the business, offering them the opportunity to use our lasers, purchase our lasers. If they can't purchase a laser, use our laser hub to print for them, our software, etc. So
you're franchising it?
We like it's not really a franchise because we're enabling them to run it under their own business name, set their own retail price points, and people are motivated when they can, market their own business name. But really, they have all the tools they need and all the learnings and the advice from us, from our teams, to be successful in whatever area they wish to pursue this technology in.
So 2004, you began. And I remember those first few years because I'd see you down at the exhibition center sometimes, displaying your wares, as it were, and getting business that way. That was more the retail side, or direct to consumer, as we call it. The corporate side, the business side, was already going on, I guess, at the time. And now it's been almost, well, it's actually now over 20 years now.
Correct.
And you are in how many countries with your product and your business?
I don't know. I know that we've got it pretty much in every continent. I know that in any city that I travel to, generally my family has a dinner invite to go to someone who's in that, who's using the software, using our technology. But in many places, the last place I went to, Jeddah, had it.
Yep.
Dubai has it. Japan. Singapore, the U.S. There's all the hotels across Vegas.
But the technology was born here.
Yeah.
In Canada?
Correct. So, I call it innovation. Now I've also invented certain areas in our business. So the invention comes more from being able to take a flat image. So like I talked about earlier was the 3D camera. People having to sit in front of a 3D camera.
Yeah.
And as cool as it was, what we realized was that there was this huge market that we were losing out on, because how can you give a gift to someone and ask them to come and sit in front of a 3D camera? The element of surprise is in there, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to take a flat image and make it 3D. So we started off in 2015 with a new software called Cockpit 3D. And I started with 2 artists back home in India. And, trained them on how to model flat images to 3D using our own software. And that grew to then 20 and then 50 and then 100. And now we've got 4 villas with over 200 artists that are modeling 3D, not just for us and our production needs, but for anyone that's using our software anywhere in the world. Now what's happening is that alongside that, look, to get a photo converted to 3D takes a few hours. It takes maybe about an hour and a half per person in the photo. So you still have to tell the person, come back in the evening, come back tomorrow to pick up your crystal. Now what we've actually just invented is the ability to machine learn using AI. And the exclusive side of it comes from being able to take a flat image and make it 3D for the purposes of subsurface laser engraving in minutes. Right. So now you have someone from their mobile device zapping a photo to a laser and seeing it burn right before their eyes and walking away with it in minutes.
And this is through the intervention of AI.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, you can see how enthusiastically and knowledgeably Riyaz talks about his product and the service he offers. And I think there's probably no substitute for that when you're trying to do business with the rest of the world. To believe in your product, to be able to talk about it authoritatively, knowledgeably, and enthusiastically. And I see that all in you. You've now reached a point where you have a business based here, but with extensive representation abroad. Going back to those early days when it was just you and I believe Mehbooba, your father, as the first 2 employees of this company. What do you think now? I mean, at the time it must have been a little concerning. But now, how do you feel about it, about those early days?
Concerning it, you're right. It was like, I was never nervous to talk to people. I was never concerned to talk to people. But where the concern came from was, I have all this excitement and belief in what I'm peddling to the world. But will they reciprocate? I've spent all this money in R&D and creating a solution and now renting a location. Will people actually purchase? And the exhilarating feeling you get, the adrenaline rush when you get your first purchase of the product is through the roof. And so, I mean, that's where the concern was. And when I started to see that, you know what, it's not just them loving the product when they're seeing it and purchasing it, but when they're actually receiving it with their image or their family sentimental moment and tears coming down their eyes. You know, how many, usually when you hear from a customer, it's because they have a complaint.
Yeah.
Because they have an issue with you. That's when you're going to pick up the phone and call, you know, your telecom company and complain, right?
Right.
But to have people calling over 80,000 reviews that are averaging 4.8 out of 5 because they love the product, it just makes you want to get up and go to work every morning, you know? And so you mentioned my dad. I have to talk about that. Is, you know, what an incredible inspiration. You know, you have somebody who is who's worked so hard all their life to pay the mortgage.
A solid citizen, as I call
Right?
it. Yeah.
You bet. And when it comes time to starting the business, when the whole world, I shouldn't, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but almost everybody I knew was completely thinking I had a loose screw. And he's there, you know, doing double shifts at work, driving to come and help me set up at a show. You know, my mom pumping me up as well. And, you know, he remains an inspiration till today, not just for me now, but he's known amongst the teams that are working for the purpose and for the cause.
I've heard that. I've heard that. So back to those early days, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
That's a good question. Wow. I'd say that the biggest challenge that comes to mind was right at the beginning. And that was being able to get the necessary funding that I needed to start this business. Like raw, that's without being poetic, the actual challenge that I had, you know, if anybody wants to know, is actually getting the financing, the funding to being able to start this. Because I didn't have the capital to just go and put into this. It needed a couple $100,000. And so, you know, I approached the banks and every bank looked at my business model and said, look, it looks really, really good. But the problem is that we need collateral. And your laser is a single-use asset. So what are we going to do with it if you do not succeed? So bank to bank to bank I went. And this is where, you know, the doors are being shut in your face and they say for every door that closes, another one opens. Well, I just didn't see it opening. You know what I mean?
None were opening, right.
And finally I get it, you know, it goes full circle because the last bank that I presented to is a bank that I had actually worked for when I was in high school as a co-op student. And the branch that I was routed to was the same branch I had worked at because it was a branch close to my home. So they put me in touch with a commercial manager to present to. So I presented my business model to her and she looked at it and she said, look, the idea is phenomenal. It's great, but I can't because of the same reason. However, I'm going to give you a shot at presenting to our risk manager. His name was Paul. In 2 weeks from now, I'm going to call Paul into this office. Both of us are going to listen to the same presentation. Let Paul decide because I don't want to say no. So 2 weeks later, I go in and I make my presentation to both of them. And I tried to be, you know, as entertaining. I threw a few jokes. The guy was poker face.
Like PSF?
Yeah, exactly. Persuasive selling factors is what Shabir is referring to. Exactly. You taught me some of those, right? So, but at the end of the day, poker face. And, you know, he got up at the end of it after asking a ton of questions, which I was well prepared to answer. And he leaves the office. And she looks at me and she says, look, it's not looking good because he would have asked me to leave to another room. He would have discussed it with me and we would have come back and told you how much we can give you. Generally, it's not the full amount, but how much we can give you. Because he's left, you know, it looks like it's not going to go through, but he said he'll get back to me. It was a Friday. So the weekend was a difficult weekend because I was wondering. And on Monday, she calls me and she says, you know, you asked for $180,000. He's giving you not only the 180, but he thinks you're going to need $20,000 extra for cash flow. So he's giving you $200,000 on a 7-year loan to pay back. And I said, what changed? Like, what happened? How? Everybody else said no. You almost said no. How? She said, the answer is the letter that you asked for from your director, guaranteeing that you would have your job back in 52 weeks. That letter acted as your collateral to getting this loan.
Okay.
Can you imagine the creativity?
Right.
And how, if you believe in what it is that you are selling and what it is that you are sharing with others, the way in which you are creative amongst coming up with answers. I didn't have collateral, but I had the letter.
But that reinforces the fact that making strong relationships or creating strong relationships in your first venture with P&G counted for everything in the end, right? Okay. As a business person, as an entrepreneur, what habits and routines have contributed towards your productivity, your focus, your drive, and your energy?
I'm ever since a young age, I like to write. And so I can't, overemphasize the power in journaling, in documenting what it is that you are thinking, what it is that you are planning. We have learned about building blocks.
Yes.
Right. And so when you have a goal, the way I see it and the way I teach my teams these days is you've got your immediate goal and your ultimate goal. So you have your ultimate goal. That's great. You want something, but what are the immediate goals to get to that ultimate goal? So what are the building blocks that you're going to, and so I'm able to establish that by way of writing, documenting. Another habit that I have is always looking back and trying to identify how I could have done something better. And that might just mean after I've made a presentation, coming back into the car and just thinking through, okay, this is what, because it's fresh in my mind. This is what they asked me. This is how I answered. How could I have answered better? And documenting that. These days, you don't even have to write it. I mean, these days you can even just kind of audio record it and it comes out and spit it out in a writing format, right?
Speech to text.
Yeah, but I personally do still, I mean, I love and I encourage my kids as well, pen to paper. So put the pen on the paper and make it your own handwriting. There's really nothing like it. So, and the other habit I have is, trying to document everything on camera. Not everything, but as much as possibly I can. So, if I'm going to do a meeting, having a video recording of me planning for the meeting, if I have permission, recording the actual meeting, thereafter recording my reaction to the meeting. But this is something that is not just for me. I encourage my kids as well. I mean, it's so important, the power of being comfortable in front of a camera. You and I can sit right now and talk so casually as though there's no cameras in the room. But why? It's because you're comfortable in front of a camera. I'm comfortable in front of a camera and we're able to talk. And so the power of being able to sit in front of a camera and just talk casual can do remarkable things. Today, the mobile device is more powerful than many broadcast stations combined. Elections have been won because of what has been posted by way of the mobile camera on social media. So the habit of being able to get comfortable in front of the lens is something that's going to go a long way.
Something we learned at P&G together was the power of innovation, of making sure that we kept up with trends. What priority do you give to the subject of innovation in order to keep your business both relevant and competitive at the same time?
So, excellent question, and it's loaded. You'll remember Beckett Ridge.
Yes.
And Beckett Ridge, for those who don't know, is in a place where a lot of testing and a lot of plan programming, a lot of innovation, takes place for P&G and future ideas. And I remember the idea of them showing us where the fridge would actually communicate with the mobile device and tell you what you need, that you need milk, that you need eggs, right? Because the fridge knows the compartment for the milk and the eggs and the weight of it. And, when it's empty, it needs innovation. And so when people say, when people will ask me, how did you achieve success? I'm like, I haven't. I'm still aiming. So success is a moving target. We keep moving the bar, right?
Right.
And what are you doing? It's always about innovation. That's why you keep moving the bar, because when you've accomplished something, you want to stop for a moment, smell the roses, but then you want to kind of establish what's your next goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all tied to innovation, coming out with new ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I encourage everybody. That's why we've come out with what we have today, the smallest 3D crystal machine in the world.
Right.
Imagine when I started, it was the size of a fridge. It was water cooled,
Mhm.
making noises like the air conditioners hanging out the window back in the day, right?
Yes, yes.
And
Those-
today, my wife can carry the machine with one arm.
Mm.
And what does that do for, entrepreneurs that now want to, have the versatility to not just run the business out of their living room,
Right.
but take the business, not wait for the business to come to them,
Mhm.
but they go out to the business. Take that machine out to festivals, fairs, shows, whatever it is,
Yeah.
without needing help or trucks or anything to do so.
And be able to deploy it.
It's all innovation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Reflecting on your journey, what's the one key lesson you've learned that you believe every aspiring entrepreneur out there, and I'm talking to some of you, what's the one lesson that you believe every aspiring entrepreneur should know, should understand?
We did a B-roll back in 2019, and this was the question that was going to actually create the thesis or the main line of that B-roll. And my answer, the lesson that I learned, was that yes, competition is healthy,
Mm-hmm.
but collaboration is healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And I live and I breathe that every day. That's my lesson, is that when the tide comes in, all boats should rise.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that I want to win, winning doesn't mean someone else losing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say you want to win, define, what does winning mean? To me, winning is growing market share.
Mm-hmm.
If I can grow my market share, I'm winning. So can someone else. Someone else can also, and that's why I'm so happy
Right.
to be offering our technology to others. It's a win for me, but it's a win for them as well.
Right.
Right.
So you grow the market in the process too. Yeah.
You grow the market in the process too. Exactly. But the key thing here is that you want to make sure that everybody, like you're working with others. I treat it like a game.
Mm-hmm.
When I get up in the morning and I go to work, I go to play. I'm ready to roll the dice and I'm ready to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm not able, because what everybody sees many times is the success stories. The people that are watching our YouTube channel, they're seeing all the marketing team and what the marketing team wants to show.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're not seeing is, and what we need to do more of is showing the failures.
Right.
That's key, is people need to see, where have I not won? And when I don't win, what's my reaction? What am I doing then? That motivates me further, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 7 years to get my product into the CN Tower.
Mm-hmm.
I pitched them in 2003 or 2004, when I was first kind of getting into this. And they loved the product. My goal, we talked about immediate goal and ultimate goal. My goal was to be able to get the right person on the phone. That was my immediate goal.
Right.
And then my next goal was to be able to get a meeting with them, which took forever. And then my next goal was, in that meeting, to get key decision makers. I was able to get the CEO of the CN Tower to come into the boardroom on my first meeting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because they loved the product and she was entertained by what I was saying.
But in this case, your perseverance, your persistence, and perhaps I would say your tenacity paid off. I mean, if we talk about the qualities that it takes to build a business, those are 3 very important attributes. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And a lot of patience, because 7 years, and consistently keeping in touch with them, to the point where finally they're like, wow, the guy actually is not a startup. He is running a real business. Like, I would tell, after a year, I would send them a letter showing them what I had done in Niagara Falls.
Right.
Or what I was doing at, an exhibition.
Yeah.
But it would keep me top of their mind. It was almost like a story that they would discuss with their family at the dinner table. That there's this kid that has approached us and continues to approach us.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation, right?
Yeah. Is there anything you'd do differently if you were given the chance to start the business again today? From scratch? Anything different?
I'm happy with how I've
You are.
orchestrated everything, but they do say hindsight is 20/20. You know, I can't think of anything I would do differently, to be honest. I'm in a good position to be able to say that. Yes. So
Yeah, yeah. When you manage a business of the sort you have, you obviously have the advantage of a team supporting you, employees and colleagues and mentors and things like that. So you got to build them into a high-performing team, I assume. How do you do that? How do you build a team that shares not only your drive and your passion for the business, but also your vision and your values?
thank you for that. So, well, beyond talking the talk, you have to walk the walk. And so the teams need to be able to see whomever their leader is actually practicing what it is that they preach. And so I'm very real, not only in front of my team, but I'm very candid and myself in front of people that watch our content on social or on YouTube. People will know me and they'll know my family when they hop onto a meeting. It's like they've already had dinner with me. I think that it's a big achievement when someone in their business, and this is a recommendation, a tip or a trick to entrepreneurs out there, if you can achieve a level of equilibrium in your life where you are the same person, whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're speaking to someone who is the top CEO of, or whether you're speaking to your child. When I was with the Prime Minister, the way I spoke to him and the way I speak to my wife, to my family, was exactly the same.
Tell us about that time. How did you find yourself in front of the Prime Minister? And which Prime Minister are we talking about here?
The cool thing is that when you so I've done projects for multiple celebrities and dignitaries. The Prime Minister that we're talking about right now was Prime Minister Stephen Harper, and he was leading Canada up until recently, just prior to when Trudeau took over. And the way I found myself in front of him was that I had sent a letter to the office, and I had uh, talked about the importance of supporting Canadian innovation. And I had told him my story in a brief letter, not knowing whether I'd get a response or not. And sure enough, I got a phone call that was from a 613 number. And, I was driving and I picked it up. And, normally you'd think it's someone asking you if you want to get your air ducts clean. So this is another tip is, give people 30 seconds of your time, because I almost missed out on meeting with the Prime Minister. But I picked up the phone and they said, is this, Riyaz Datoo? And I said, it is. Most of us would click, right? Click, it's a sales call. I said, it is. Who's this? And she told me, my name's Sandra and I'm calling from the Prime Minister's office. I said, what, the Prime Minister of Canada? She said, yeah. I said, 1 minute. Pulled to the side of the road. And she told me that they received the letter, and he also saw the product I had created for him with the letter of his family. Talked about it with his wife at dinner. Remember, I told you that, when you can achieve that level of, people are humans. They're going to talk about what happened in their day, even if they're the Prime Minister of Canada, with their family at the dinner table. So he told his wife about it, and they said, let's call this guy over. Let's find out, let's hear the story about how he kept it in Canada and didn't offshore it. So it's one thing to meet the Prime Minister, but to be invited to his office, the same office where, he meets other world leaders. It was supposed to be a 5-minute meeting, turned into something almost close to an hour.
Gosh.
And we talked about Canadian innovation, the technology, how we do what we do. And, I always say ABCD. Speak to any of my team members, ABCD, always be closing deals. So I was right there and then, I was like, you have many dignitaries from around the world.
Right.
Why don't you gift them with a Canadian-made product, the 3DCrystal? He goes, well, I'm meeting the Obamas. How much does it cost? So I told him the cost of the mantle crystal. And he said, well, will you give me a deal? And I said, well, I'll save you on the taxes if you save me on the taxes, right? It worked.
That's good.
It worked. He bought the crystal a few times, actually, and ordered. We've done multiple projects for governments around the world.
So the CRA didn't ding you next year?
Well, that's another story. That's a long one.
Okay. From employees and your team to your customers, how do you build strong, lasting relationships with your customers?
You know, it goes back to, and I use this all the time, is there were two moments of truth that we were taught under the leadership of A.G. Lafley, and I've now made it three. But the two moments of truth were that, one is when the customer is deciding which product to purchase. You represented Tide. So let's give that example, is that on the shelf, when someone is looking at Tide, Sunlight, and No Name, you've won at the first moment of truth when your customer has purchased Tide, right? So that's winning at the first moment of truth. The second moment of truth is when the customer,
When they use it.
thank you, when they use the product. And when they use the product and they love it so much, you've won at the second moment of truth. And I added, for my team, the third moment of truth is when the customer, you've over-delivered. The customer loves it so much that now they're going to spread the word and they're going to get other people to purchase from you. In my case, whether they decided to buy, they were choosing between a photo mug, a blanket, a photo shirt, a 3D crystal. They chose the 3D crystal. They received it. Tears came to their eyes. I've won at the second moment of truth. And now they go and they share it with other family and friends. And they say, hey, you got to check this guy out and buy it. So winning with the customer is really putting yourself in their shoes and doing things that are going to make the experience for them great, the product for them great, as such that they buy it again. And, in my case, it's not just the product many times, it is the experience of the product being made. So yes, if they buy on e-com and they're getting it home, the experience is the product. But many times at locations, what I'm encouraging the cruise lines to do now, Disney, who's one of our customers, the main tourist attractions like Clifton Hill, Niagara Falls, what I'm telling them is I'm saying, guys, you're not just selling a product, you're selling an experience. Make sure that you've made it so that they're entering a 3D crystal world, that they're seeing the laser through filtered glass, building their crystal, maybe getting them to push the buttons. They can say they made it.
Yes.
Right? And that's how we win over there.
Right. Any closing thoughts or tips or advice to the young budding entrepreneurs out there?
Man, I have so much advice. The first thing is I'd say soon I'm going to be coming out with a book called Think 360. Read it. It shares a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of my advice there. But what I will share over here is, first of all, don't underestimate the importance of what you're going to learn working for other companies. The simple jobs that I had doing inventory for a store when I was just 15 years old, and the memories I have of sitting on the floor counting inventory at 1 a.m. in the morning, to doing what people would say were bird courses. Why are you spending time doing, audio visual? Why are you learning about using a camcorder and doing these radio shows to the cafeteria that students can't even hear because they're busy talking amongst themselves? Why are you doing that? But the learnings I got from back then in those jobs, in those extracurricular, in those what people call bird courses, all combined together into what we concoct and create as, call it a business, call it our lifestyle, right? Call it, our game that we like to play, whatever it is. Any learnings that you can get. And what I encourage even my kids these days, because if, you did ask the question, you said, if you could go back, would you do it differently? Anything that I feel that needs to be exaggerated more, spent more time on more, something I could have done, emphasized more. I'm doing it with my kids now. So, I'm like, well, guys, I wish I had done my black belt. I wish I had gone all the way to black belt. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Black belt, I'm referring to like martial arts, right? So, all these extracurriculars that you can do right now to put on different hats so that one day you're a pilot. When you're with a pilot, you can talk the lingo. You understand ailerons. You understand the rudder. You understand thrust and lift and all those things. When you're with a doctor, you can talk their lingo in medicine. When you're with, the leader of a country, you can talk politics. You can talk foreign policy. You can talk as much as you can learn. All of that is going to come back at you and help you in whatever it is that you're going to do, whether it's your own business whether it's working up the corporate ladder, whether it's in social, different social causes, whatever it might be.
Riyaz, it's been a real pleasure, and it's been an extremely interesting conversation. Pleasure having you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And on a personal level, I'd like to say how proud I am to having brought you into the Procter & Gamble environment all those many years ago, but also then watched you and watched you succeed in all your endeavors. And I wish you the very, very best for the future, and all power to your company, and success to them too. Thank you.
You've been a great mentor and an inspiration. Thank you, Shabir.
Thank you.